Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. An Air India commercial flight crashed into a residential area of the northwestern Indian city of Ahmedabad minutes after taking off. The London-bound Boeing 787-8 plane had at least 242 people on board. AP is reporting there appear to be no survivors from the crash. Boeing's been plagued by major aviation disasters in recent years, but it's the first such incident on the 787 aircraft. Fear is growing in the Middle East that Israel soon launch an attack on Iran. The U.S. has already begun pulling some non-essential personnel out of the region, including at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. Iran's defense ministers threatened to target U.S. bases, quote, if a conflict is imposed on us, unquote. Israel appears to be preparing to attack Iran, even though the U.S. and Iran are continuing to hold talks on Iran's nuclear program. Another round of negotiations are set for Sunday. Earlier today, the International Atomic Energy Agency declared Iran in breach of its non-proliferation obligations for the first time in almost 20 years. This all comes as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu faces a growing political crisis at home. Earlier today, Netanyahu's government narrowly survived a vote to dissolve the Knesset. In related news, former CIA analyst Asif Rahman has been sentenced to 3 years in prison for leaking classified details last year about Israeli plans to strike Iran in Gaza. Israeli forces have killed over 120 Palestinians over the past day, including many at aid sites, bringing the official death toll to over 55,000 in Gaza, though that figure is believed to be a vast undercount. Gaza's media office has accused the Israeli military of, quote, perpetuating a policy of starvation and deliberately targeting and killing starving people seeking food, unquote. Criticism is growing of the shadowy U.S.-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which took over aid operations in Gaza. The Center for Constitutional Rights has notified the group of its potential legal liability for complicity in Israel's war crimes and genocide against Palestinians. Earlier today, the GHF accused Hamas of attacking a bus, killing 5 of its aid workers near Khan Yunis. In other news from Gaza, the Palestinian doctor Ala al-Najjar has arrived in Italy with her 11-year-old son, Adam al-Najjar, who will receive medical treatment. A recent Israeli strike killed the doctor's husband, also a doctor, and her 9 other children. Before leaving Gaza, Adam described the attack.
We were at home. Everything was normal. Then they launched a missile at our building. Smoke came out. Then another missile hit us and leveled the entire building to the ground. There were a group of energy panels on the roof. They all collapsed to the ground. Only 1 or 2 left. All my brothers were killed. My father, too. May God have mercy on him.
In the occupied West Bank, Israeli forces killed 2 Palestinian brothers Tuesday during a massive military raid on the city of Nablus. The Palestinian Red Crescent Society said it treated more than 80 people in Nablus with injuries. On Wednesday, Israeli special forces also killed a man near the town of Tamun. A federal judge will hear California's request today to limit the presence of National Guard and Marines deployed by President Trump to Los Angeles to just guarding federal buildings. National Guard troops have been involved in detaining civilians and have been accompanying immigration agents on their L.A. raids, provoking fear and chaos across L.A. Community-led protests continued for a 6th day Wednesday. Downtown Los Angeles was under curfew for a second night. This comes amidst reports that families arrested in L.A. ICE raids have been held in basements with limited access to food and water, and that some detainees have been transferred out of state to Texas, as local facilities were not prepared for the surge in new detainees. Relatives of abducted Angelenos say they have no idea where their loved ones have been taken or what their condition is. This is Kimberly Hernandez, whose father's now missing after a raid on the car wash where he worked.
We are extremely sad to not know where he is. We have not been able to find him, and this is unfair. We would like justice for him, and we would stop. We would like to live without the fear of being detained at all times.
Meanwhile, the U.S. attorney in Los Angeles announced criminal federal charges against 2 demonstrators Wednesday and threatened to come after more people who were exercising their right to protest.
This is just the 2 cases we have been able to charge now. We are looking at hundreds of people. We have video, we have FBI collecting video, we are collecting body cam, we're collecting social media, we're collecting everything.
It's believed ICE has arrested more than 300 immigrants in Los Angeles since the latest actions have begun. Protests are against attacks on immigrants are gaining steam across the U.S., hitting at least 35 cities. In Washington state, the mayor of Spokane imposed a citywide curfew on Wednesday amidst protests there. The raids are continuing, too. In Nebraska, dozens of people were detained at a meat production plant in Omaha. Meanwhile, in D.C., Republican Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri said he's launching an investigation into the group CHIRLA, that's Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights Los Angeles, accusing it of, quote, bankrolling the unrest, unquote. In response, CHIRLA said, quote, we will not be intimidated for standing with immigrant communities and documenting the inhumane manner that our community is being targeted, unquote. In more related news, Republican House lawmakers have launched a separate probe into CHIRLA and 200 other nonprofits serving immigrants, accusing the groups of abetting the, quote, Biden-Harris administration's historic border crisis, unquote. Some of the other targeted groups include Make the Road New York, Council on American Islamic Relations, or CARE, and Haitian Bridge Alliance. Meanwhile, U.S. troops stationed at the southern border have begun detaining immigrants in another escalation of military authority. Troops are generally barred from civilian law enforcement under the Posse Comitatus Act. Authorities in Republican-led states are attempting to charge people with military trespassing for entering so-called defense zones, even if they do so unknowingly. President Trump is claiming a trade agreement has been reached between the U.S. and China, but details remain sketchy. The deal, which is still under review, reportedly would reduce tariffs and give the U.S. access to Chinese rare earth elements and magnets used in cars, semiconductors, and smartphones. The U.S. will ease restrictions on some exports and will no longer seek to bar Chinese international students. In shocking court testimony Tuesday, the former Brazilian president, Jair Bolsonaro, denied involvement in an alleged plot to overthrow his successor, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, but admitted to engaging in conversations about alternative strategies to staying in power after he lost his bid for re-election, including declaring a state of siege. Bolsonaro is accused of discussing a plot to kill Lula, as well as Justice Alexandre de Moraes, now the judge in this case. The World Food Programme is warning several areas near the Sudanese capital of Khartoum are at risk of famine due to years of fighting. This is the World Food Programme's Laurent Becerra speaking from the port of Sudan.
Several areas in the south are at risk of famine. Sudanese communities have been on the front lines, hosting the displaced, but they are now at a breaking point, with returns expected to heavily damaged areas like Khartoum. Pressure on overstretched resources will intensify. We are deeply concerned, and meeting the basic needs, especially food, will be critical and is urgent.
Multiple nights of anti-immigrant race riots have rattled the Northern Ireland town of Ballymena in the wake of a sexual assault accusations against 2 teenagers who are believed to be from Romania. Violence and arson in the nightly riots have gotten so bad some residents have taken to writing their ethnicity on signs outside their homes or displaying a British flag to avoid being targeted. Some residents of immigrant backgrounds have fled for their safety. Back in the U.S., a federal judge ruled Wednesday the Trump administration cannot keep Columbia University graduate, Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil, locked up over his political advocacy, and that his continued detention is causing Khalil irreparable harm. Judge Michael Farbiars gave the Trump administration 40 hours to appeal his latest order, meaning Khalil, a green card holder, could be released as early as Friday. However, in another challenge to Khalil's freedom, the judge maintained the Columbia graduate could still be subject to detainment over Trump administration claims he failed to disclose membership in various organizations in his permanent residency application. Mahmoud Khalil's been locked up in a Louisiana immigration prison for 3 months. months, missing the birth and first weeks of his newborn son's life. Hunger strikers at City University of New York ended their fast Wednesday after 16 days of public protest and teach-ins and after raising $30,000 for families in Gaza. This is one of the CUNY activists, Connor Coco Tomas Reed.
We're now calling upon people to shift their energies from this hunger strike to engage in the myriad forms of struggle that are happening in New York City. So this is court watch for our immigrant family and friends. This is blocking and resisting attempts at ICE raids and deportations. This is challenging the housing laws that are evicting more and more people in New York. This is making sure that abortion rights and gender-affirming care remain legal and accessible here in New York City. So we're calling for the CUNY hunger strike for Gaza to convert into a liberation summer, and we invite people to become a part of it.
Elsewhere in New York, police arrested dozens of activists as over 200 Palestinian and Jewish New Yorkers led the occupation of the Maersk office building in Manhattan, demanding the shipping company halt the transportation of F-35 fighter jet parts to Israel. This is Naiv from the Palestinian Youth Movement.
These fighter jets are responsible for dropping bombs on the people of Gaza, for destroying schools, hospitals, university, and the entire infrastructure of Gaza.
The Environmental Protection Agency has proposed repealing Biden-era federal limits on greenhouse gas emissions from power plants and weakening a separate Biden regulation on pollutants, including mercury. Scientists warn the moves will trigger the greatest increase in pollution in decades. It's the latest deregulatory action taken by EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, who claims he's fighting against the, quote, climate change cult, unquote. The Democratic National Committee has forced out David Hogg as vice chair after the 25-year-old gun control activist threatened to support primary challengers to Democratic incumbents he viewed to be, quote, asleep at the wheel, unquote. The DNC plans to hold a revote for vice chair, but Hogg does not plan to run. In news from Capitol Hill, the House is expected to vote today to allow the White House to claw back $9.4 billion already appropriated by Congress. This includes $1.1 billion in cuts to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which provides funding to NPR and PBS. And a Manhattan jury on Wednesday convicted disgraced Hollywood mogul Harvey Weinstein of sexual assault after he was retried following the overturning of his 2020 conviction. The jury, however, acquitted Weinstein on another charge and failed to reach a decision on a third charge of third-degree rape, which jurors are continuing to deliberate on today. One of the three plaintiffs in the retrial, Miriam Haley, spoke after the jury concluded again Weinstein had forcibly performed oral sex on her in 2006.
To survivors of sexual assault, you matter, your story matters, your voice matters, and you're not alone. Thank you.
Harvey Weinstein has also been convicted of sex crimes in California and sentenced to 16 years in prison. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.